Urban exploration is not for the faint of heart, especially if you find any of these during your explorations. Today we're going to be looking at 10 of the creepiest things found in abandoned buildings. We've put in the creepiest, most unexplainable discoveries for number 1. If you want to find out what that is, you better stay tuned. Now, get ready for the ookiest, spookiest, and altogether kookiest things that we could have found, and let's begin, shall we? Number 10. A bathtub full of brains. When entering abandoned buildings, you pretty much already have an idea of what you're gonna find in there. You'd expect to find signs of decay, and maybe a personal item or two from previous owners. You may even find some canned food unopened for a number of years. But I bet that you won't be expecting this first entry on our list. Not in a million years. An anonymous poster uploaded this photo of a bathtub full of brains in the WTF Reddit forum. The poster didn't explain much, not that he needed to, as it's honestly pretty clear what we're seeing here, but he didn't provide important details like the wheres and the whens. Since this is Reddit, of course a lot of unsubstantiated backstories popped up, one of which says that the bathtub of brains was found in an old abandoned hospital, and just how cliché can you get? The story further states that the police were even notified of this gruesome discovery that's more befitting to an SCP article. Whether or not that story is true, most Reddit users seem to agree on one thing, that the brains are real and it takes a high level of indifference to be able to chuck them all in a tub and forgotten. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it, it really works. Number 9. The Maryland Collection. In 2006, construction workers were bulldozing a place to make way for a new suburban block. All of a sudden, they came across an old mansion which used to belong to a man named Thomas Theodore Maryland. In the old basement, they came across a number of peculiar wooden boxes. Thinking that they came across something valuable, like gold or treasure, the workers started to open the boxes one by one. However, they weren't prepared for what they would find. Inside the boxes were the mummified remains and skeletons of creatures we now call cryptids. Creatures that are thought to be mythological and yet to be discovered by science. The boxes contained skeletons of fairies and dragons and a few other creatures that were quite difficult to describe. Since their discovery, the collection has sparked an animated debate between naturalists. While some truly believe that the find will forever change science, others dismiss it as an elaborate hoax. But to me, the bigger mystery is, what were those boxes doing in the basement? And what kind of person is Maryland to have such a collection? Number 8. A naked doll collection. Huh. Well, I've heard worse. When exploring an abandoned petting zoo, there are certain things that you would expect to find there. Probably the worst one would be the rotting remains of sheep, goats, chickens, etc., maybe the farmhand. However, I'm happy to report that no such things were found by the intrepid urban explorer responsible for this creepy photo that you're about to see. Yes, those are dolls. Naked dolls, and it looks like there are hundreds of them inside that barn. Now, there is a perfectly reasonable explanation for the dolls being there. It's most probable that the owners of the petting zoo ordered a gazillion of these dolls to sell in their gift shop, but never expected to close down soon after. But that's no fun at all. I prefer to believe that this is the work of a deranged doll collector hell-bent on getting his hands on every single one of these generic-looking dolls to be a part of his twisted collection. Okay, that's a little unlikely, but it makes for a better story in my opinion. Number 7. Drugs in a candy store. Well, actually, not really a candy store, but more or less a candy factory. That doesn't exactly make it sound better, but the McCormick's Candy Factory in London, Ontario was closed down and seized by the government due to non-payment of taxes. It was originally constructed in 1913 and operated until its closure in 2008. It is now a very popular place for urban explorers, even saying that this is the perfect place for beginners. According to a veteran urban explorer, its size makes it a good long explore. It's usually fairly easy to access, and it has a small degree of danger and risk, as there are often junkies inside doing drugs. Wait, he did say it was safe to explore, right? I don't know about you, but even the remote possibility of encountering a drugged-up junkie at night while exploring a remote abandoned place isn't something that I would consider safe. The same explorer did upload some photos of discarded drug paraphernalia, which he took on his first exploration of the area. Some urban exploration in the future may be fun, but as soon as I see a discarded syringe on the floor, I'm out of there. That's mostly because maybe they're still there. Number 6. TVs with bullet holes. An urban explorer was exploring a tiny abandoned house in rural Ontario. It was very small, but it had 4 bedrooms and, get this, 5 beds. It looked like the paper-thin walls were only being held up by the thin wallpaper that is somehow desperately still clinging onto them. The house was relatively intact and was still full of furniture, and it even still had photos on the dressers and hanging on the walls. It still even had electricity. For all intents and purposes, it looked like the inhabitants of the house just decided to vacate the house, leaving everything they owned behind, even the empty beer bottles on the dining table. If the description I gave you just wasn't creepy enough, let me tell you about the old TVs in the house too. There are 3 of them, which is kind of weird. Maybe not by today's standards, they only have like 4. But what's even weirder is the fact that 2 of them had bullet holes in them. Did the previous owner have a habit of shooting TVs when he didn't like what he was watching? Who knows. Number 5. The Delray Witch. In 2014, a police officer known only as Ted posted this quite disturbing video on YouTube. He said he heard some strange noises coming from a neighboring house after responding to a disturbance in Delray, Detroit, and decided to check it out. Personally, my money was on Florida, but Detroit works too. As the officer approaches the abandoned house, he pans the camera across an old newspaper clipping, then calls out to see if anyone is inside the building. Suddenly, a ghostly face appears in the upstairs window before disappearing into the darkness. The video reveals that the article seen by the police officer was actually about a woman named Rose Varese, who was known as the Witch of Delray. It was thought that Varese may have murdered as many as 12 men in the 1930s, but that her neighbors were too scared to testify against her. They believed she had supernatural powers that could make their children sick. Did this police officer actually catch a glimpse of the infamous Delray Witch? Maybe it was just a creepy coincidence that the article was there on the ground. Or did the man plant it in order to create an elaborate hoax? Again, we'll probably never know. Number 4. A forgotten biology experiment. Ask any urban explorer, one of the best places to explore are abandoned schools. It's probably because we share an affinity towards these places where we still hold a lot of fun, happy memories. But then again, we also have a lot of not-so-fun memories as well. Remember that time when your biology teacher forced you to kill and dissect a frog? Not one of my fondest memories, I must say. You would think that morbid and yet educational science experiments like these would be properly gotten rid of when the school year ends, or disposed of when the school ultimately shuts down. But in this abandoned high school, it seems that the teachers there thought it would be fun to freak out all urban explorers to come. The school's science laboratory was filled with everything that you would expect. Old science experiments, broken beakers, and test tubes, dead butterflies, and moths stuck onto foam boards with pins, you know, the usual stuff. And then you see this. Yes, that is a mummified frog on a pedestal. Not inside a jar swimming in, formaldehyde like you would expect it to be, but hey, on a pedestal for all the world to see. Kinda like a very morbid trophy. Number 3. Happy birthday, Eric. I don't like this one already, it's using my name. This story has been around the internet for many years, so you've probably heard of it by now, but it doesn't make it any less creepy. The story goes that Reddit user Never Enough Muppets entered an old abandoned mansion in Suffolk County, Long Island. The house was badly neglected and looked as though it was furnished in the 1960s and 70s. In one room, he found a pile of mail dated around August 1995, leading him to believe that this was probably when the owners had left. There, he found a room that was full of toys. These weren't old or broken toys as you would expect. All of them looked brand new. Some of them even looked like they were played with recently. Apparently, thinking that this wasn't odd enough for him, he went upstairs, and in one of the bedrooms there, he found hundreds of birthday cards. Each one of these birthday cards was wishing a happy birthday to a guy named Eric. What's even more disturbing is that the cards looked like they were written by the same person. This was apparently still not enough to spook our explorer, so he decided to climb up to the 3rd floor, and that's when he heard a sound coming from one of the bedrooms. Then he saw a pair of very dirty hands appear out of the doorway. A man began to drag himself into the hall, making a guttural groaning sound as he pulled himself closer. Needless to say, the explorer ran out of there for dear life. If this story is true, it's definitely one of the more terrifying true stories I've heard in a long time. It would also explain why I'm not getting any birthday cards on my birthday. They're all at this place. Now it's time for the day's best pick. Today we're going to be examining a photo of what appears to be a massive shark in an even bigger and greener fish tank. It looks good enough to appear on the set of a movie, but the question is this even real? Well, let's find out next. Number 2. Jaws in a tank. In this video, a man was exploring an abandoned wildlife theme park somewhere in the outskirts of Victoria. This theme park was closed back over in 2012 and is currently overrun by squatters. Nonetheless, the man still bravely explored every inch of the property, documenting on video everything he saw as he went. He then uploaded this video on YouTube and has now garnered more than 10 million views. The video starts out like any typical urban exploration video, showing the sad state of abandonment and general disrepair of the place. Overgrown grass, abandoned personal effects thrown about, trash and debris everywhere. But everything changed as he entered one of the abandoned buildings of the theme park. As he entered this building, he found everything that one might expect. Old remnants of things found at the theme park, including an ice cream stand. But then, on one side of the room, he noticed something quite huge. Inside a very large aquarium was the unmistakable silhouette of a shark. As he filmed closer, the massive great white shark loomed into view, suspended in formaldehyde, its menacing jaws permanently open as if he was about to take a bite out of you at any moment. Apparently, this shark was caught dead in a fisherman's net and was taken to the theme park to be an attraction for public display. Number 1. This is a pentagram. Not just any ordinary kind of pentagram, oh no, those things are boring. This pentagram was made using empty fire extinguishers. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. Could it be part of some sort of sinister satanic ritual used to conjure up demons and hellspawn? Well, maybe, especially if you know where it was found. Built in 1923, the West Park Hospital was a psychiatric facility located in Surrey, England. It was one of 5 psychiatric hospitals built in the area known as the Epsom Cluster. The hospital eventually became run down by 2003, most of the buildings were closed and the site was abandoned. This photo was taken by an urban explorer in the attic of the hospital. Which creepy discovery gave you the chills? Let us know in the comment section down below. Want to watch more creepy videos about even creepier stuff? Click on any of the videos you see on your screen. As always, thank you all for watching and I will see you all next time. Later everybody.